Hello and welcome to Tech Deals game performance review time on the Acer Aspire VX15 15.6-inch $1,000 gaming laptop computer. This is a very nice computer that I have previously covered. Link in the description below to the full playlist on this machine. Also linked in the description below is the link to Amazon.com where you can go take a look at this machine. I bought this machine on Amazon, and if you're interested in the best $1,000 gaming laptop available today, you should as well. Now there are some other choices besides this laptop, and I've covered them previously, a little bit more and a little bit less than this price point, but it's a nice compromise for the features you get to get right at the $1,000 price. For full details, check out my full review on this computer in the link in the video description below, but in short, we have a 1080p IPS display. It's a very good quality screen. We have a top-of-the-line Intel i7-7700HQ true quad-core processor with 8 threads up to 3.8 GHz clock speed. 16 gigs of RAM comes pre-installed, and an excellent Intel NVMe solid-state drive, 256 gigabytes, but most importantly, GeForce's GTX 1050 Ti 4 GB dedicated gaming graphics card. Very nice combination of hardware, very quick machine. I do recommend it. We are recording the video today using an external Elgato HD60S capture card. No performance loss due to recording. You are watching the actual gameplay that produced the numbers you will see at the end of this video. Fraps was used to produce the benchmark results you'll see at the end, and the real-time numbers you're seeing are from MSI Afterburner in green in the upper left-hand corner of the screen. Today we are playing Doom and Fallout 4 in high detail preset on both games. Doom first, Fallout 4 a minute later. Now I actually played further along in Doom than I've ever played before. For those of you curious, a lot of these games I don't actually play through to completion because there's no way you can possibly test 20 or 30 different games and actually have completed them all and still have time to do anything else. Now I've actually just started the benchmark, which is why the numbers in green went away on the upper right hand corner of the screen. So rest assured that the stuff you saw at the very beginning during the first voiceover with the elevator and the loading screen was not part of the benchmark. Let me draw your attention to something right away. The real-time frame rate in the upper left hand corner. Yes, we are actually getting 160 frames per second at high detail at 1080p in Doom on a 1050 Ti. There are definitely places where this game is not demanding, but that does change, which is why I kept playing a bit to get to a later level and to see some more advanced stuff. So when you look at the average performance numbers at the end of this video and the number is lower than this, that's why. Now please note that I'm not going to show you all of that because otherwise we'd be here for half an hour just looking at Doom, and I don't think very many of you want to watch a half an hour of me badly playing Doom, because frankly I am not that great at this game. First-person shooters such as this are not my specialty, but I did play through it further because I decided that the first level was simply not adequate to demonstrate performance. I've done that in the past. I've shown Doom performance, I've shown other games such as Rise of the Tomb Raider, which are not as reflective of performance as perhaps later levels are. Now, what you're going to see in a few minutes in Fallout 4 kind of breaks that slightly because I show the same area that I've tested many times in the past. If I continue to test Fallout 4, I'm going to change that. I am going to get further along into the game, into one of the cities. I am well aware that performance is lower in the cities. I'll talk about that when we get to Fallout 4. But sometimes time is an issue, and for the moment, it's that or nothing. So I went with what I already have in terms of a saved game file. Just based on what you're watching right here, one of the first questions people might ask is, why didn't you turn the detail up higher? Why didn't you crank it to the max? Clearly this computer can handle it. Well, yes it can, but as a general rule, on a computer such as this with a 1050 Ti, I set most games to high detail. A few I'll set to ultra, a few I have to turn down to medium or even low at times. Ghost Recon Wildlands, we are looking at you. However, I generally like to stay at the same detail preset when I'm testing on a machine if it's at all possible. Now it does produce crazy high frame rates such as this. Of course, if you buy this machine and you want to play Doom on it, by all means crank the detail up. It will still play just fine, at least in most places and situations. But there are times where it's going to drop, where it gets really busy with bad guys. There are some intense scenes in this game. How much do you want the frame rate to drop when it gets there? You might very well say, nope, I want a minimum of 60 frames per second even in the busy areas. Well, now you know that Doom should do that. At least in the vast majority of situations, you should be able to maintain 60 frames per second without an issue. But not all the time, not at high, believe it or not. But yes, in most situations, yes, you can. Now I'm just going to cut ahead just a little bit to show you a few things. No, I didn't cut very far, but otherwise it just becomes monotonous running around using your pistol as a sniper weapon. It's pretty, I mean, this is not hard right here, of course. Even though I played further than I ever have, I have not finished the game. I don't know what the final boss is like, and frankly, I'm not going to, because Doom is not my personal forte. And another cut, we run over here and we kill some more. This continues for quite some time, frankly. That pistol is wonderful with unlimited ammunition. The shotgun, of course, does far more damage at close range, but these guys are pretty easy. You can just blast away at them. If it isn't obvious by now, this game runs just fine on this laptop computer. I'll show you another minute or so, and then we're going to jump to Fallout 4. And another jump, and another couple of useless enemies with a pistol, and yeah, I think you get the point. This is pretty straightforward. This is not hard to play. Well, okay, it's hard for me, but it's not hard for this computer to play. And if you look at the performance numbers in real time in the upper left-hand corner of the screen, if you look at the RAM usage, the CPU usage, the frame rate, the VRAM usage, this machine is not stressed playing Doom whatsoever in any way, shape, or form. So that just leaves us with Fallout 4. How well does it play on this computer? Now, if you've watched my previous Fallout 4 performance videos, you will recognize this location. I've used this for, I think, every single one of them, at least every single one of them for at least 6 months now. Now, Fallout 4 is frankly much more demanding than Doom is, so I showed you the easy one first. The Fraps numbers went away because we are now benchmarking. I'm simply turning us around, taking a look at the environment. We are running at the high detail preset. Please note that of all the games I test, this one screams for customization of presets. You don't have to just accept low, medium, high, or ultra. There's a lot of different things you can turn on and off in the detail settings that make a difference to performance. But I test with presets primarily because it's easy to repeat, it's easy to make sure I get right every time, it's easy for you to punch it in and compare your results on whatever computer you have, laptop or desktop, to my own settings. However, turn God rays off, turn shadows down, make a few minor adjustments, and you will make a big difference in performance to the game. As I mentioned before, Fallout 4 is one of those games where large portions of it, you'll be walking around the countryside, you'll be doing normal things, you'll even face enemies like this, and you're going to be pegged to a solid 60 frames per second. Now, please note that this game is VSync locked. You have to actually edit either the game's files or go into NVIDIA's control panel to try to force it off. The game does not want to run outside of 60 frames per second. Doom can run that fast because it doesn't care. But a lot of the missions, lockpicking, and some other things in this game do not function well. If I were to let this run at 120 frames a second, the game would break. The game's engine just doesn't want to. So, it's not how fast the frame rate runs, it's where it dips. Watch, we just dipped to 45, 47 right now. We're no longer at 60. That is by far more important than whether we can run at 120 frames a second staring at the ground doing nothing. Let me tell you, in the cities and towns, in the busy areas, this game is going to slow down. Does 30, 40, or 50 frames per second bother you? Do you want a solid 60 frames a second? You're really going to have to set it to medium. Why am I testing it at high? Most games on this laptop are getting tested at high, and frankly, high detail will be enough in most situations in this game, right up until it isn't, right up until the busy areas. So I tell you this up front so that you know that you're either going to have to turn the detail down there or play it at medium, or, as I said before, pick settings in between medium and high. Either pick high and lower some stuff, or pick medium and raise some stuff. Play around with it, see what works best for you. One thing that's definitely true is we do have plenty of CPU power. We're not even using all 4 cores. We do have plenty of RAM. We're at about 6.5 gigs of RAM. And of course, that's going to lead some people to say, great, I'll buy the $800 version of this laptop. Please don't. If you buy the $800 version of this laptop, you get a 1050 instead of a 1050 Ti, so you lose graphics performance. You get 8 gigs of RAM instead of 16. It does make a difference to the stuttering and smoothness because Windows is using all that extra RAM. It's not going to waste. And then finally, you get an i5 processor with 4 threads instead of 8, running at a slower clock speed. For $200, all the loss going down to the $800 machine is simply not worth it. If you're going to get one, get this. If anything, get the one directly above this. Get the $1,100 machine, which I'll talk about in just a minute. Well, now that's suitably dreadful. Let's take a look at the results. First of all, Doom. It's spectacular, as you'd imagine. I mentioned it would not be as high as you might think. With an average of 156, you'd expect half the frames to be below that. I challenge you to find a whole lot much below 150 in that run. There was a little bit, but not a ton. And the 1% and 0.1% minimums of 126 and 114 are frankly nowhere to be found. They're probably in there somewhere, but really that performance was amazing. These charts are mostly reflective of further gameplay, which I didn't show you, transitions, picking up the key cards from the dead bodies on the ground, and perhaps 1 or 2 missed frames here and there. It was, however, a completely and totally wonderful experience. No issues whatsoever. Now, what about Fallout 4? Notice we have an average frame rate of 56. Well, not too bad considering that we are VSync locked to 60, so there's nothing over 60 to drag that average up. It's really good actually. But look at the 1% and 0.1% minimums. Those are dramatically lower. Now you saw several sections of the game where the frame rate was dropping down into the 40s, and there were certain scenes where it dropped down even more. Not a lot, but unfortunately, mostly when you need them. You are going in places in this game to have to turn the detail down below high in order to get playable frame rates. The cities, some of the really intense battle scenes where there's 15 plus AIs running around and shooting, when you're in power armor and there's more stuff going on, you will have to turn that detail down just a little bit more. In fact, you might want to just run the game at medium. But it was playable and it was controllable. So if this is the budget you have and you're looking for a GTX 1050 Ti based laptop, it will play at high detail, at least in most of the game, if not all of it. Having said that, as I mentioned earlier in the video, there is a laptop from Acer just above this, the Predator Helios model. It's $100 more. It's exactly the same machine, same screen, same RAM, same solid state drive. The only difference is it has a GTX 1060 graphics card instead of the 1050 Ti here. About 50 to 60% faster graphics performance. If you have the money, go buy that one. Now, it's not the same as their Nitro high-end gaming line, which does have some extra features, which that one doesn't. But for $100, it does have a lot more graphics performance. And if you want to play AAA games such as Fallout 4, Ghost Recon Wildlands, The Division, Prey, etc., spend the $100. Get the 1060. I simply don't have one to review, otherwise I would show it to you. But if you're limited to $1,000, this will in fact work pretty well. I hope you found this video helpful and useful. Click that like button, share this video with your friends. Remember to subscribe to my channel with the big huge red button directly below. Post your comments below the video. Check the video description. Links to Amazon for this laptop as well as the other models that I recommend, the $1,100 one and the $1,300 one, are down there. Also, the links to the full playlist on this laptop are down there. Other games, check them out. My first boot Windows update, the Windows performance review, and my initial review of this computer are all down there. Finally, please consider supporting my channel on Patreon. Acer did not send me this laptop. I bought this with my own money. It's a very, very nice machine. And it's why I don't have the other models, because frankly, I buy most of what I review. And so I have to pick and choose. That being said, if you want me to review more stuff, please support me on Patreon and I will be able to cover more cool things such as this and other desktops and laptops in the future. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you in my next video.